Buenas tardes a todos. Good afternoon, everybody. Today is the second lecture by Professor Chaitin. He will be tell us about application of algorithmic information and complexity theory to biological systems. So please.
Yes, thank you, Professor Martin-Delgado. Sí, muy buenas tardes de nuevo. Gracias por volver. Primera cosa, una aclaración. I'm sorry, wrong language. Use the word, first thanks for coming back, everybody, to the second talk. Yesterday I used the word complexity, and I forgot that nowadays physicists all know about time complexity, right, through quantum computation and quantum information theory. And the kind of complexity I'm talking about, I feel is in some ways closer to physics, to thermodynamics, but it's program size complexity or information complexity. It's a kind of an entropy measure applied to individual microstates rather than ensembles. And that's the kind of complexity I'm using. So when I say the word complexity, I'm never referring to time, runtime. I'm always referring to the number of bits you need to tell a computer to get it to do something particular that you're interested in doing. Okay, so technically you can call that program size complexity, you can call it algorithmic information content, which I think is the best name for this. There are many different names, but I often just say complexity, and that's confusing, so my apologies. Another thing is that I should give you some references in case you want to see more about this. Not much has been published on this yet. There is on ARXIV a preprint by Professor Martin-Delgado on quantum effects in the theory of biological evolution. So that's available on ARXIV. And then my stuff is not on ARXIV. There's a book that's just been published in England that I wrote with two friends in Brazil, Gödel's Way, and this has just been published in the UK by CRC Press. And this book, Gödel's Way, actually I'm not the main author. The main author is the third author. But I did write the second chapter, which is like an expanded version of the talk I gave yesterday. So if you want to see it with more technical material. So that would be a good reference for the talk I gave yesterday. It's the second chapter of this book. Then there are going to be published, so this book is already out. It's just been published. It's just been printed. Then there are going to be two publications next year, hopefully. They're both scheduled now for May of next year. There's going to be a technical paper published. The technical paper, giving the detailed proofs of all the assertions I'm making here, is called Life as Evolving Software. There was a previous longer title, but this is the current title. And it's going to come out in a book celebrating Turing's birthday, edited by Hector Zanil. And the book is called A Computable World, and it's going to be published by World Scientific in Singapore, end of May, which probably means that it won't be available here for months afterwards. Because the books get shipped by boat or something like that to the rest of the world. And then there's going to be a non-technical book that is being published by a major publisher, non-academic publisher in New York called Pantheon, that published my previous book, Metamath. And I'm amazed that they're publishing it because actually this is a pretty technical, it's not as technical as this paper, but this is a pretty difficult book, and they insisted on publishing. It's a small book, and the title is intended to sell copies. It's not the kind of title one would give to a university book, so it has an exaggerated title, Proving Darwin, Making Biology Mathematical. And of course, I do neither. It's a hope that maybe these ideas are going in that direction. And the hero of the book is dedicated to John von Neumann for reasons that you will. So even though next year we're celebrating Turing's 100th birthday, in applying Turing's ideas to biology, which is what I'm doing, actually it was not Turing himself who realized that his ideas were fundamental for biology. It was von Neumann. And I'll be telling you that story. So the book is dedicated to John von Neumann, that of course every quantum physicist knows and admires. Okay, so this was a draft of the book, and here I have the slides for the talk. Okay, so as I said, the thing that I'm trying to come to grips with in this model is biological creativity or inventiveness, generation of novelty, creativity. And that's something which somehow has gotten forgotten in population genetics and most of the theoretical work on biology, because it's just very difficult to come to grips with it using the mathematical tools that people use, which normally is the same kind of mathematics that you use in theoretical physics, namely differential equations, linear algebra, all that good stuff, right? So, and I think in fact you need to use a different kind of mathematics in order to deal with biology, because biology is all about information. So, so the first thing, this viewpoint, I think the technical name I'm proposing is metabiology for this new field, assuming that it becomes a new field. But a better way to explain the idea is life as evolving software, or evolution of mutating software. And so the starting point really is to say, well, on the one hand, we have artificial digital software, and these are computer programming languages, programs written in computer programming languages, languages invented by human beings, by some of my friends at the IBM Research Center. Well, the ones who invented programming languages are mostly retired by now, but still. Anyway, this has happened in my lifetime, all of this. These languages, computer programming languages are about 50, 60 years old. Well, at the same time, they're newcomers, because at the same time there is natural digital software, which is DNA. And this is a much older programming language, algorithmic, discrete language. It's 3 or 4 billion years old. It's much, much older. And so not only that, there's a lot more of it. Every cell in every living being on this planet, plants, animals, bacteria, even viruses, is full of this software. And so there was software all around us. We're surrounded by software. I think that's the key reason that biology is the way it is, because it's really based on, has the plasticity that you get from software. But it wasn't until we invented software on our own that we could look around and see that there was software everywhere. And I'm sort of going to attribute that to von Neumann. At least he doesn't say it in those terms, but he certainly is a step in the direction of this idea. So this point of view is that life is evolving software. The metabolism, the physical body, is not that important. I'm saying if the computer isn't that important, what counts is the software. Okay? But what biology is really all about is software. Energy and metabolism and energy and all of that stuff. Obviously cells have to be able to eat nutrients and have enough energy to do what they have to do. And that's the kind of stuff you study in physics, right? Energy and the mobility of the cell and all that. But what I'm saying is the fundamental thing that's going on is really software. It's really information. That's what you really have to concentrate on. And so from this point of view, as you can see, biology would be a strange kind of archaeology, software archaeology, because you're dealing with very ancient software. And if you look at a human being, there are a lot of genes, a lot of subroutines in our genome which are very ancient. There are genes from sponges, which were the first multicellular organisms. And there's a nice book by Neil Shubin called Your Inner Fish. And he talks about how some of the medical problems that people have, like hiccups, is not a serious medical problem, unless you can't stop hiccuping, is because at one point human beings were amphibians, so to speak. So we still have that mechanism left over. There are wiring problems. There are very complicated connections inside the body where a much simpler, shorter connection was possible between two things, because basically what you do is you took a fish and you made it into a bipedal mammal, introducing the minimum changes. So some things that make absolutely no sense if you look at a human being, very strange features of human anatomy, make a lot of sense. Make a lot of sense if you look at the way a fish is designed and say, what do I drag around? So this field is called evo-devo. It's evolutionary developmental biology. And Neil Shubin's book, Your Inner Fish, in Portuguese it's Quando Éramos Peces. I assume this book is in Spanish, but I don't know. It's certainly in Portuguese. This field is called evo-devo, and the people in this field really have the view that DNA is an algorithm for the embryo to develop and for you to get the animal, to build the animal, which is called development. And it's also an algorithm afterwards for the animal to function after it stops being an embryo. So this field is called evo-devo, and with this point of view, the origin of life, which is still pretty mysterious, the theory of evolution doesn't say much about this. It happens